It all starts in the quiet town of Ravenswood. There was an old, decrepit mansion that everyone avoided. The locals called it the Hawthorn House, a place rumored to be cursed. It had been abandoned for over 50 years, ever since the tragic death of its last occupant, a young woman named Lila Hawthorn. Lila was the daughter of a wealthy but reclusive family. The townspeople whispered that the Hawthorns were involved in dark, occult practices. Lila, however, was different. She was kind-hearted and often seen playing by the willow tree in the mansion's overgrown garden. But one day, she vanished without a trace. Despite extensive searches, Lila was never found. Soon after, her parents were found dead in the mansion under mysterious circumstances, and the house was left to rot. Years passed, and the story of Lila became a cautionary tale. Parents told their children to keep them away from the house. But one fateful night, a group of teenagers decided to explore the mansion, driven by curiosity and the thrill of the unknown. As they stepped inside, the air grew cold, and a sense of unease washed over them. The mansion was filled with dust and cobwebs, its walls covered in faded, eerie portraits of the Hawthorn family. They made their way to the attic, where they found a locked door. One of them, Mark, managed to pick the lock, and the door creaked open to reveal a small, dimly lit room. In the corner of the room, they found a diary belonging to Lila. As they read through its pages, they discovered the horrifying truth. Lila had been a victim of her parents' dark rituals. They had attempted to summon a spirit to grant them eternal life, using Lila as a conduit. The ritual went terribly wrong, trapping Lila in a state between life and death. Her spirit was bound to the mansion, unable to move on. Suddenly, the room grew colder, and a ghostly figure appeared before them. It was Lila, her eyes filled with sorrow and pain. She reached out to them, and in a voice that echoed with centuries of suffering, she begged for their help to break the curse. Terrified but determined, the teenagers agreed to help Lila. Following the instructions in the diary, they performed a ritual to release her spirit. As they completed the final incantation, the mansion began to shake violently. The air was filled with an ear-piercing scream as Lila's spirit was freed. The walls of the mansion started to crumble, and the teenagers barely escaped with their lives. As they stood outside, watching the mansion collapse into ruins, they felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. They had freed Lila, but the cost was high. The ground where the mansion once stood was now a barren, cursed land. And though Lila's spirit was no longer trapped, her presence lingered, a reminder of the horrors that had taken place. The townspeople soon noticed that the willow tree in the garden, once dead and withered, had started to bloom again. Flowers of the deepest blue, Lila's favorite color, covered its branches. But at night, if you listened closely, you could still hear the faint sound of a young girl crying, her sorrow echoing through the wind. In freeing Lila, the teenagers had uncovered a dark chapter of Ravenswood's history. And while they had broken the curse, the memory of Lila Hawthorn would haunt the town forever, a ghostly reminder of the past that could never be forgotten. And from that day forward, no one ever heard from them again, except in whispers on the wind.